Hey team, how we going? It is Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz, and I am your Australian veteran who's about to react on a part of history. And why? It's because if we don't study history, sorry about the dribble, we're going to repeat it. And what we're seeing right now across the Western world is young people that have been completely brain fungused about the things that don't matter. They're not studying history, which means when they become leaders instead of managers, they're going to continue on with this dribble and could make the mistakes of the past. I've written down there the importance of learning ancient history to prevent us learning ancient mistakes by man. And that means both genders, team, both. So, guys and gals, we're going to be watching today what happens when the Khwarazmian Shah gave a fuck you to Ghenghis Khan after he was on a undefeated run against China, against Russia, against Hungary, against all of the, I am hungry actually, against all of these countries that didn't deserve what happened to them. Imagine being the guy with the fig leaf, keeping the emperor, the Shah, cool, okay, in his high-ceiling palace, eating dates. I don't know what they did back in those days because they didn't use toilet paper then either. And they're eating one of the diuretic pieces of fruit. And you hear him say, well, Ghenghis Khan can go fuck himself. Everyone knew who Ghenghis Khan was, the Golden Horde. He was as bad as it gets. So the victim this time is going to be Persia. The Khwarazmian Shah, what they did was they allowed for 400 merchants to get jacked with all the tribute they had and then to keep it. Ghenghis Khan finds out, sends 3 emissaries. Instead of giving him this is Sparta, booting him into a goddamn well, Kitty, who put Kitty in the well, they killed one of them horribly and allowed the others to go back as a final face slap, to Ghenghis Khan. But at the time, he didn't have any enemies. When Ghenghis Khan parlays with you, normally it was simply give up and you may live. I still might get you. But everything had a purpose. But there was other times as well when people tried to negotiate with him that pissed him off, and he simply said, all I want is my demands is that you're dead and your city is razed and becomes pasture lands. Do you agree to my conditions? Well, not really. That's not fair. Okay, if you want an even better, more immersive version than this, Dan Carlin, it's as good as it gets. I'm going to put the link to the Celtic Holocaust down below. Costs you nothing. It does cost you money for Wrath of the Khans, not to me, to Dan Carlin, and it's worth it. It's more than 5 hours of immersive history. It is historical porn, and you're going to love it, guaranteed, or I'll pay for it for you, guaranteed. They learn about it. I taught it as one of my sources as a tactics and leadership division instructor to Australian infantry officers, and it was brought to me by an American Special Forces colonel. So believe me, team, it's worth it. Let's get on with the video. What we're going to do is going to move down here. Another question for you. Ghenghis Khan, his first name was Temujin. Let us know in comments if you want more immersive information videos like this, because Patreon asked me to do this and I complied. What else do they get? If you come to my Patreon, bam, you get a miniature painted so that you can go on a battlefield and get killed there as well without doing a fitness test. So let's get into it. Magellan TV, that's probably your sponsor, and answer this question for me as we go. Civilizations that are killed by their own leadership. Do you have trust in who our leaders are now, who our commanders now? Are they managers? Are they leaders? Do they smell like leaders? Do girls want them in their bed? No. Do you think they're selling us down the dirty lane? Yes. Let's go, Kaz. Put your headphones on. Yeah, they make my ears look smaller too. Let's go. Subscribe if you're there. The channel that brought this to
Through mountains and desert, beasts of burden have traveled to the city of Otrar, saddled.
I dated a beast of burden once. She still got away from me.
With goods from the far east. The 400-man caravan slackens its pace before the famed Islamic metropolis, which glows with looming citadel and elegant contours of sandstone. Thereupon the travelers meet the governor of the town, Inalchuk, to whom they reveal that they bear a bountiful trade offering from their master.
This guy's fucked. So he was going to get this shit for free anyway, pretty much, and decided to take it. Anyway.
For the warring horsebound nomads of the Golden Steppe have united under their lord. The Mongol riders now answer to the man called Temujin, the great Ghenghis Khan.
Killed his own brother for stealing a fish from his family. He was also captured by the Merkits. Jamuga was one of his best friends. He was a badass. He was captured and escaped, and then became the most deadly man alive, and even had the most children sired by any man in the history of the world. Did you know that? Here he is.
Inalchuk sends word of this Mongol caravan to his nephew, Shah Mohammed II, the supreme ruler of Otrar in these lands known as the Khwarazmian
You're fucked too.
Empire. And with the blessing of the Shah, Inalchuk, driven either by suspicion or greed, executes the entire caravan and sells its precious cargo for his own profit. Yet one traveler escaped the bloodshed, and now he treks back to report to Ghenghis Khan. The Mongol answer arrives in short order at the palace of Shah Mohammed, 3 meager emissaries. The men implore the Shah to make peace with Ghenghis Khan and to hand over Inalchuk for punishment. The Shah has heard tales of this Mongol Empire. A few years ago, he sent an emissary to the city of Zhangdu or Beijing, China, the great pearl of the Jin dynasty. Walls that stretched 40 feet high concealed within a putrid vapor. For as the party advanced, the earth underfoot became slick with yellow pools of human fat. And what
is he talking about? Sydney, just walking through Pitt Street Mall at the moment?
They perceived as banks of snow from a distance were chalky heaps of innocent bones. The Mongols have breached the Great Wall, and they are ravaging China.
Remember, one of the reasons why they have the Great Wall of China was to keep the horde out. That's how deep the anxiety was, okay, how inbuilt it was. Do you know that the Great Wall of China was actually built by the peasants and by everyone? Everyone had a certain social obligation to build a certain amount of wall individually. Did you know that?
The Shah decides to arrest the 3 emissaries of the Khan. One he has killed. He forces the other 2 to return to Ghenghis Khan with their beards disgracefully shaven.
Double down on the insult and then shave their beards. Yep. All right. That's what happened to me.
Carrying the head of their companion. The Shah does not fear war. Having recently annexed the eastern stretches of his domain and executed tens of thousands of civilians who resisted his rule, Shah Mohammed II styles himself a great conqueror.
This is where you've got to picture that guy with a fig leaf going, there's 200,000 Mongols that are coming to have a conversation with you, but you're never going to hear the words other than kill him next. These are the same guys, Ghenghis Khan, that went into Russia to sack it in winter, used the rivers as roads. Brilliant.
Answers neither to the Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad to his west, nor to strange Mongol nomads to his east. The edge of his empire ascends jagged in the east, to form a great barrier of mountains. The Shah knows when the Mongols come to retaliate, they will march through the gap between its peaks, the Zungarian Gate. Khwarazmian troops ride into position. But there is another pass, ancient and treacherous, through the mountains of Tian Shan. A cold white wind torments all who trespass its ravines and sheer cliffs. And there, frozen bows rattle against huffing beasts. Marching through white dunes and staggered corridors is a Mongol force of 30,000.
Lucky for Ghenghis Khan and the men of his Khanate, their favourite food, one, is horse meat, which they've got plenty of, more than 7 horses per man. okay, but also kumis, which is the milk mixed with blood that actually comes from the horses as well, not from the male horses. We don't milk those. They do in some areas, So he's good. He's ready. Listo, as they say in Spanish.
Descending from the mountains, they plunder the Fergana Valley until the Shah leads his army after them. The Mongols, though outnumbered and travel-weary, display their unfailing discipline and mastery. In brilliant charges and feints of light cavalry, the synchronous packs of riders rain arrows into Khwarazmian ranks.
So the Mongols were famous for the feigned flight, which is also a part of their units were like fanatics that were there to engage with the enemy, make it look realistic, like this is the real deal, the big show, the fat lady singing. And then what would happen is they would do the feigned flight where they would act panicked, which they're not. And as a vanguard, they would fall back, acting the part only to drag you into a pursuit that made you follow them, dragged you out, breaks formation, and then from there, you were picked off and realized you were deliberately pulled along into a position where it is unassailable, and you're probably going to get killed by the reconnaissance group, the vanguard, not even the full fighting force. And that's what's happening right now.
The larger Khwarazmian force bleeds troops but manages to hold its ground, and at day's end, each side retires to its camp. The Mongols disappear under cover of darkness, slip deeper into Khwarazmian territory. The Shah will learn that the army that has just repulsed his attack is only a vanguard force, led by the Khan's generals Jochi and Jebe.
Jebe was known as the Arrow because he was an actual enemy of Ghenghis Khan, and the fable says that he actually shot Ghenghis Khan's horse out from under him. And Ghenghis Khan was so impressed that he got that close to do so, he gave him two choices. One, you can be now a general in my army, in my horde, and I'll give you 10,000 men to command, as long as you're loyal, or I can kill you now. Which one is it? Jebe went on to be one of the 10 most tactical, brilliant generals for maneuver warfare that has ever existed in recorded history. Well done, Jebe. Good choice, son.
From the Zungarian gate, more are coming. Inalchuk has readied Otrar for war. The gates are shut, and his general Karacha commands the strong garrison. Lining the walls, the lookouts perceive a beating hum,
not strong enough.
Forth. It is said that then Inalchuk...
Right now, what would your anus be doing? You'd be looking at your leader. Let's go back to what I've said up here. Civilizations that have been killed by their own leadership. Just went and saw Napoleon. Didn't realize when he went into Russia that he took 600,000 men and came back with 40,000. Man, when leaders and commanders fight with ego, it's always the private soldier, which normally comes from the poorer class, that pays the price. We're seeing that in Ukraine right now.
Mounts his wall and looking forth finds no words but bites the back of his hand in awe.
Yes!
For the air became blue, the earth ebony, the sea boiled with the noise of the drums. With his finger he pointed to the army on the plain, a host to which there was no end. This...
No feminists on those walls.
Is the great Ghenghis Khan and his army come to take revenge. The walls will hold them back for now, but the Mongols lay siege to Otrar, using newfound Chinese weaponry. As the gray months pass, the nomads circle the gates and sever supply lines into the city. Many suffering Khwarazmians possess only a tenuous fealty to the Shah. Some are subjects recently forced under his control, who suffer the crippling taxes he has levied to raise his army.
Sounds like Australia.
In his despair, General Karacha rides out from the gate with his followers and defects.
Is that Albanese?
The Mongols welcome him into camp, only to tell him that his betrayal of the Shah reveals his own disreputation as an ally.
Kill him!
They execute him and his officers. Traders inside Otrar, seeking an end to the siege, open the unmanned gate and the Mongols charge in. They massacre soldiers and townspeople and pillage what they find. Inalchuk retreats to the citadel with his remaining troops. For weeks they resist until the last soldier, and barricading himself in a hopeless room which overlooks his fallen city, the wretched Inalchuk resorts to casting down bricks upon his foes. The Mongols drag him out and take him captive. Ghenghis Khan has proclaimed that the conflagration of the Khwarazmian Empire has been brought on by Inalchuk, a thief sick with greed, and so the Mongols decide to give the governor the precious metal he so desires. The Mongols pour molten silver into his eyes and ears, such that the defiant face of Inalchuk sears inward and spills at their feet.
There's a lesson here, team, for those that chase money their entire life. That becomes their end state, and ultimately end up with no family, end up with no friends, but the riches, but no one to spend it with. A Ferrari with not enough friends to fill the passenger seat. Be careful what your definition of rich is, because it won't be money that you can't take with you, but it will be the friends and the mates that carry your casket. See ya.
Others contend his end was more prosaic, that the Mongols simply strangled or trampled him to death. Regardless, Inalchuk is dead, and tens of thousands of Mongols under the Khan's generals now plunder the empire from all ends.
Yes.
Shah Mohammed readies his army for a final stand, galloping out to meet them before the capital city of Samarkand. But Ghenghis Khan and the main force have disappeared, ventured into the vast Kizilkum desert, long thought impassable.
Maybe he's run away in fear. Let us know in comments. Where do you reckon Genghis Khan has gone? Do you think he's scared? Do you reckon he's planting grass in the desert, hoping that it grows and becomes pastures? What do you reckon? Am I bringing enough energy?
Beneath ornate mosques, the humming markets of Bukhara have built the fortunes of aristocrats and concealed the dismal slums of the peasantry. It was here that Inalchuk sold the plunder from the Mongol caravan.
They've got fat with the good times, and we know what happens with the good times. They make weak men. And what do weak men make? Bad times. And then we rinse and repeat. Maybe that's happened to us now. Are we the frog in the water that's slowly boiling? Maybe.
And that is why, stealing the horizon, Ghenghis Khan and the Mongols advance on its walls.
He's back!
Having traversed the dunes of the Kizilkum, the Khan besieges Bukhara, using Khwarazmian prisoners as human shields in the assaults. After only a few days, thousands of troops emerge from the gate. The Mongols slaughter them and rush into the city. Ghenghis Khan decides to join them. One source records that the Khan addresses the city. "O people, know that you have committed great sins. If you ask me what proof I have for these words, I say it is because I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed these sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." Scouring financial records, the Mongols identify the nobles who purchased the Khan's stolen cargo, and threaten that all who fail to return the valuables will be executed. The Mongols advance on the citadel at the city's heart, forcing their civilian prisoners forward until their bodies fill the moat, at which point the Mongols drive siege weapons over them and breach the walls, killing all of the soldiers within.
The cruelty that you might be looking at if you haven't studied history is deliberate. The reason for this is so that you don't have to fight the same people again with the next generation. Therefore, those that didn't make it to the height of the ox cart, to the yoke that actually held the wheel, then more often than not, those males were put to the sword. So you don't have to fight them. So they can't remember their father, can't avenge him. There was always a purpose. Also understanding the next village, the next city is listening to you as you choke the rooster to teach the monkey a lesson. There's always a reason.
Few inhabitants are spared the depredations of the pillaging Mongols, who torture the rich into relinquishing their valuables, violate screaming young women, and kill, conscript, enslave, or banish all other civilians. The city catches fire. Its mosques and slums are left in ashes as the Mongol army rides out and marches on the capital of Samarkand. The Mongols near the walls and devastate the Khwarazmian charges that come to relieve the city. Ghengis Khan then learns that the Shah has threaded the Mongol line and vanished into the wilderness. He sends thousands of troops under Jebe and his finest general Subatai to track the Shah, while his main force moves to finish Samarkand. The Kang Li and Turkic defenders in the capital ask to surrender and insist that they had never wished to resist the Mongols.
Do you reckon Genghis Khan likes weakness? I doubt it.
Ghengis promises them that they will be spared, but his cold pragmatism and truth permits none to resist. As soon as they give up their weapons, the Mongols kill all of them.
Yep.
They systematically massacre the rest of the town, sparing only a handful of useful artisans and a few women to take as concubines. And as the Shah flees, the scythe falls on each of his cities. Sporadic Khwarazmian victories serve only to enrage the invaders. In Urgench, vengeful Mongol generals puncture the dams that hold back the river and drown every soul within.
Engineering brilliance. In case you didn't know, they believed that it took 800 years for Persia, Iran, to recover from this devastating attack. And supposedly between 10 and 15 million people were killed in this campaign that only went for 2 or 3 years. Even more so for China.
Later in Nishapur, it is said that the Mongols separated into stinking piles the heads of men, women, and children, sparing almost no living thing. Dark legends of the Mongols no doubt grow wild in these lands, where Genghis has come to be called the Accursed One. The Khwarazmian throne that defied him has been deserted, for Shah Muhammad II has been hunted to the wild outskirts of his kingdom, only a day's pace ahead of Subatai and his troops. The Mongols capture most of the Shah's family. They kill all of his sons they find and take his daughters as concubines. Then they banish his mother to Mongolia to live the rest of her days in poverty.
All of this could have been avoided if that Khwarazmian Shah, Islamic, which means he's not meant to be scared of death, had have just turned around and said to the family, you keep going, I'll go and hand myself into Subatai. But no, he let his entire family, including his mother, get the sword just so that he could clean his skin. How do you reckon he slept when he was isolated on that island for the rest of his days, eating dates, surrounded by people that know him as the biggest coward that ever walked the planet?
And hidden on an island surrounded by the somber waves of the Caspian, the Shah yields to some disease. In the coming year of 1221, his son Jalal ad-Din will rout many Mongols and lead a Khwarazmian resistance until Genghis Khan personally crushes his army and forces him into the jungles of India. The Khan knows that in Asia and Europe there are yet many peoples and places to conquer, and so across the burning lands once claimed by the Shah, the Mongols press onward. The Mongols are already, in my opinion, the greatest warriors of all time, but I was still entranced by the documentary Timur, Mongol Messenger from Magellan TV. Actually seeing stampeding Mongol horse archers is a beautiful and terrifying thing. It's what many doomed people would have seen 800 years ago.
That monument you can see there is in Mongolia. It is massive, massive. You can't even see it how big that is compared to like a Greyhound bus, etc., that turns up to go and see it. Guys and gals, we're going to call that a wrap there because it's gone for a long time. Chicken wrap, I wish I had one. But I hope you enjoyed the energy. I hope that this doesn't get hit down with copyright. I hope you learned something, and I hope you understand that history teaches us everything we need to know about having a good future. And it should also teach you the sins of the father should not be governed down to the son, and especially the sins of the great, 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 great grandfather. So those that are into the socialism, the communism, the terrorism support, give it a break. You look like a dickhead. Okay, get on with your life. Be happy. 103,000 Australian soldiers have died so that you could take them for granted and have ignorance in this lifetime. Enjoy it. Just enjoy it. You live in a country girt by sea. There's no Mongols coming. With that, thank you, Patreon. This was an excellent choice. Thank you very much. Subscribe right now to the Australian veteran in the trenches with Kaz as we help those that can't help themselves. Take it easy. Peace to your mother. Vanilla Rice. Sup?